So there might be times where things don't quite go according to plan, where you get some errors, or you might forget what something does. And so this is where you might need to interpret some of these error messages that you get, and also the documentation that's associated with all the stuff that you can do in Python. Right, so here I am going to kind of artificially generate an error message so that we can kind of figure out what's going on from that. Okay, so let me run this, and we get this error. There's a lot of information here. You can ignore most of the stuff at the top. You just want to kind of scroll all the way down to the bottom, and here we see it says index error, tuple index out of range. And so that's the error message. That's just going to be the helpful information out of this error message. And then basically, the issue here was that we needed this to be in, for example, like a list, some sort of like array, just something where it's just the group of numbers rather than the numbers individually, right? And then, we can get the actual correct answer this way. But basically, the issue was this tuple index out of range. Now, you might not actually be able to figure out what that means. But luckily there's a lot of helpful stuff on the internet. So you would just basically just take what I've highlighted, copy and paste that into Google with maybe something like Python and like mean. And you should get a lot of hits on that, and you might be able to figure it out just from a few links, just kind of a little bit of searching. Something else you can do is look at documentation. So for example, you can do help and p.mean, and this gives me the documentation for the mean function, right? And so if you notice here, this a, it's array-like, and so that's the issue that we had earlier. It was not array-like, it was just 1, 2, 3, and so once we put it into a list, then the function worked. All right, so you can also get this by looking at Google, just Googling NumPy mean, and you should be able to find this documentation, maybe in a more readable format. But basically, reading this documentation, being able to see, basically this is the function, and this includes all of the arguments that it can take, and then just like what the parameters mean. Like a has to be array-like, and so that was the mistake that we made. And then down at the bottom, we can also see stuff like what it returns, and it returns just a value. It should return the mean. Basically, this might be a little bit more information than you need, because there's some stuff like out and keep dims that you might not understand what is used for. So just some combination of reading the documentation, looking online, Googling. Stack Overflow is a great resource. Just all these sources online to kind of figure out what's going on. The important part here is that whenever you come across an error, you can just kind of use this last part to kind of search for and figure out what's going on. Right?